In this podcast episode, Dr. Alexis Cowan dives into a wide-ranging conversation covering her scientific background, the emerging interplay of quantum and circadian biology, environmental health factors, ancient languages, and the flaws within modern medicine and pharmaceutical industries. Throughout the discussion, Alexis challenges conventional thinking on disease, health, and human adaptability, while sharing her insights into mitochondrial function, sunlight's vital role, and technology's complex impact on our biology. Dr. Alexis Cowan shared her academic path, including her PhD work at Princeton, focusing on metabolism and how dietary and exercise variables affect tissue metabolic control in various physiological states. Her research extended into pharmacokinetics of endogenous metabolites, which was relatively novel for traditional pharmacology that primarily investigates drug metabolism. She then pursued a postdoctoral position at the University of Pennsylvania, where she contributed to the development of multi-omics platforms combining genomics, proteomics, and metabolomics for cancer diagnostics. Discovering Dr. Jack Kruse's work on quantum biology during this time profoundly shifted her scientific perspective, leading her to focus more on mitochondrial medicine and the circadian influence on biology, which bridges her biochemistry training with holistic environmental factors. Alexis described Dr. Kruse's pioneering approach to theoretical quantum biology, which studies fundamental biological processes in relation to photons and electrons. This field highlights how reconnecting with natural elements, like sunlight, grounding, and Earth's magnetic fields, can align human biology with evolutionary design. The modern lifestyle's detachment from nature, characterized by pervasive artificial light exposure, indoor living, and electromagnetic pollution, conflicts with our biology, leading to widespread health issues. The podcast emphasizes informed consent around the harms of technological progress and environmental toxification, warning that many illnesses in younger populations reflect this profound mismatch with natural laws. Alexis recounted a transformative experience visiting El Salvador, contrasting the vibrancy and vitality she felt in a volcanic, magnetic flux-rich environment with the depressive atmosphere upon returning to colder urban areas in the U.S. She attributes rapid improvements in gut health and even skin lesions to the natural environment's contribution to mitochondrial function, magnetic flux, and sunlight exposure. The discussion emphasized how environmental quality, beyond just food, fundamentally shapes human adaptability and health resilience. The absence of potentially harmful substances, such as fluoride in drinking water, alongside robust natural electromagnetic and photonic inputs, offers a profound biological advantage compared to heavily industrialized, chemically burdened urban settings. The conversation shifted to water contaminants, including fluoride, chlorine, and bromine compounds, highlighting concerns about chronic low-level exposure and their neurocognitive risks as reported by various studies despite mainstream acceptance. Alexis explained that while topical fluoride may aid dental mineralization, ingestion of low fluoride concentrations shows no proven dental health benefit. The podcast underscored that barrier tissues like the gut and blood-brain barrier are compromised by environmental stresses, including electromagnetic frequencies, chemical toxins, and inflammation, facilitating increased permeability and associated immune sensitization to food antigens and other environmental triggers. This interplay is linked to current rises in allergies and autoimmune phenomena. The discussion explored the pervasive but invisible effects of non-native EMFs from wireless devices and cell towers, explaining the physics behind dose intensity and proximity to sources, while offering mitigation tips such as turning off Wi-Fi at night and increasing physical distance from EMF emitters. Plants were noted to act as natural EMF shields. Historical research by Dr. Alan Frey demonstrated that certain electromagnetic frequencies can increase blood-brain barrier permeability, a finding supported by whistleblower claims and scientific evidence tracing back decades. This barrier disruption allows toxins and allergens access to brain tissue, with potential implications for neurological diseases and systemic inflammation. Alexis addressed controversial subjects surrounding gain-of-function virology, aerosolized pathogens, and fears related to biological weapons development, referencing whistleblower disclosures, historical examples, and ongoing global concerns about laboratory research disguised as vaccine development. The discussion acknowledged complexity and uncertainty in viral mutation dynamics and transmissibility, but highlighted risks of engineered pathogens and dual-use research. It included reference to documented cases of research efforts aiming to increase pathogen transmissibility or lethality, and emphasized the importance of transparency about such work and its consequences. Despite modern challenges, Alexis affirms human resilience, citing examples from childhood nutrition and recovery from stressors, but warns that current environmental assaults, including EMFs, pollution, and lifestyle habits, are overwhelming biological buffers. The additive nature of stress in social, psychological, chemical, and biophysical domains accelerates health decline. Optimizing environment and lifestyle can buy bandwidth for better health and adaptation. The discussion also focused on how modern inputs degrade dopamine and opioid systems through constant overstimulation and inadequate natural stimuli like sunlight, grounding, and natural rhythms, leading to increased reliance on vices and substances to compensate for neurochemical deficiencies. Exploring historical comparisons, the episode examined skeletal remains of royal versus common populations, linking narrow palates, dental issues, and systemic health problems to indoor lifestyle and genetic bottlenecks, such as inbreeding. Alexis tied these observations to modern physiological dysfunction rooted in lifestyle and environmental disconnection. The conversation touched on declining fertility trends, transhumanist motives, and the broader cultural trajectory away from natural living toward technologically dominated environments, highlighting risks to evolutionary fitness and species sustainability. Alexis shared nuanced views on psychedelic experiences, emphasizing their potential to expand perception windows and introduce humility about the limits of human understanding, while cautioning that effects largely amplify pre-existing psychological and spiritual characteristics. She noted risks of psychosis and cult dynamics when psychedelics are used irresponsibly or as dogmatic substitutes for religion. The episode referenced research showing that psychedelics reveal biases rather than undermine them, underscoring the complexity of their integration into mainstream culture and medicine, including ongoing corporate interests in developing psychoactive compounds stripped of psychedelic effects for profit. The conversation critically analyzed the flaws in modern scientific funding, publishing, and medical education systems. Alexis discussed how research and education have been co-opted by pharmaceutical interests, with the Flexner Report historically centralizing and pharmaceutical-leaning medical education while marginalizing folk and holistic medicine. The systemic incentives to publish frequently promote fragmented, low reproducibility science plagued by slow peer review and tendency toward clout chasing rather than holistic understanding. Medical curricula are often outdated by decades, favor memory and conformity over curiosity and innovation, and produce practitioners molded to follow authority rather than question conventional wisdom, limiting progress and genuine patient care. Alexis critiqued the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, highlighting delays in recognizing effective treatments like ivermectin, despite strong safety profiles and antiviral properties observed in vitro. She recounted personal anecdotes and practitioners reporting dramatic positive outcomes with ivermectin in both prophylactic and therapeutic contexts, alongside systemic suppression of accessible treatments by regulatory authorities and corporate interests. The episode also touched on political and social controversies around monoclonal antibodies and vaccine mandates, underscoring the complex interplay between science, politics, and profit. Switching focus to linguistic history, Alexis and the host discussed the connections between ancient alphabets, Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, and mystical or vibrational patterns observed in psychedelic and meditative states. They explored the potential archetypal and energetic significance behind letter shapes and sequences, drawing on ideas from researchers like Isaac Bentov, who associated Hebrew letters with cosmic vibrational patterns. The episode speculated on how language influences consciousness and culture, the role of music and oral tradition in memory preservation before written language, and ongoing debates around the origins, scope, and interpretative variability of ancient texts and alphabets. Dr. Cowan highlighted emerging research into bioelectromagnetic phenomena such as vortices within the heart and brain that might play a role in separating molecular isotopes like protium and deuterium, light and heavy hydrogen, crucial for optimal mitochondrial function. These natural vortices potentially mimic effects achieved in nuclear isotope separation, facilitating efficient energy production and preventing mitochondrial dysfunction caused by heavy water accumulation. She emphasized the synergistic effects of physical movement, vibration, sunlight, and grounding to support these biophysical processes, contrasting them with modern indoor lifestyles causing energy dysfunction and accelerated aging. The episode explored how artificial blue light exposure and indoor living degrade crucial light-sensitive receptors like melanopsin, disrupting circadian rhythms, hormone regulation, and dopamine pathways. Alexis detailed how natural sunlight exposure stimulates endogenous production of beta endorphins and other neurochemicals that improve mood, energy, immune function, and cognitive clarity. The degradation of these systems, coupled with constant artificial stimuli, produces desensitization, fatigue, and reduced pleasure response, explaining widespread modern mood disorders and addictive behaviors. Emphasizing daily natural light exposure as a foundational health practice, she described the metabolic and hormonal consequences of circadian disruption in appetite regulation, sleep quality, and overall energy metabolism. Drawing on Alan Frey's earlier EMF research, Alexis explained how non-native EMFs impair dopamine signaling, causing individuals to seek external dopamine hits through substances or behaviors. This neurochemical deficit, combined with environmental deprivation of natural rewards like sunlight and grounding, fosters habitual dependencies. The conversation highlighted the importance of managing environmental stressors and optimizing natural inputs to restore dopamine system functionality and reduce reliance on vices, along with practical mitigation strategies for electromagnetic exposure. The podcast touched on the growing popularity and controversy surrounding peptides, GLP-1 agonists, and pharmaceutical weight loss drugs. Alexis expressed concern about the long-term consequences of these synthetic drugs, which she described as mimicking natural signals in misleading ways that may disrupt fundamental feedback loops in metabolism and energy homeostasis. She warned about potential lean tissue loss, addiction-like effects, and lack of sustainable protocols, contrasting their mechanism with natural physiological regulatory systems associated with sunlight exposure and circadian biology. The conversation also covered other compounds like methylene blue and their complex roles in mitochondrial electron transport and neurotransmitter interactions, underscoring the precarious balance in clinical applications and highlights on drug interactions. Finally, Alexis engaged in reflection about language's role as both a cultural construct and a biological adaptation. She discussed how early human languages and oral traditions enabled memory and social cohesion, while modern reliance on written language may contribute to intellectual reductionism or deception by fixed narratives. The episode compared language complexity across ancient civilizations, pondered on the limitations and fluidity of language in capturing reality, and speculated on future modalities of communication, such as telepathy, while cautioning about technological overreach. The conversation closed on a note considering humanity's profound estrangement from natural environments and collective disconnection in sprawling urban centers, emphasizing a return to embodied experience and nature as crucial for survival and holistic well-being. Throughout, Dr. Cowan emphasized her commitment to spreading these interdisciplinary insights through her podcast, Undoctrinate Yourself, courses distilling advanced biomedical concepts for broader audiences, and social media content focused on circadian and mitochondrial health. She encourages practical application of quantum biology principles and alignment with natural rhythms to promote resilience, critical thinking, and improved quality of life in the modern age.